I have never had such a feeling of dread when it comes to a miniature than when I sat down to begin painting the new Fulgrim from Games Workshop. It is such an intimidating miniature, and I blame Games Workshop for that. Not the miniature itself, the miniature is sculpted to absolute perfection. It is a beautiful thing. But the paint job that they use to represent it on the box, on the website, on the instructions is just so mind-boggling that I had absolutely no idea how to go about painting that miniature the way they had shown it off, which to me was a genuine concern. I think there's definitely some sort of split between what Games Workshop wants to do in order to show their models off to the best of their ability, which is this. This is designed to make you like the miniature, but what is designed to make you want to buy the miniature? Because to me, a lot of people are going to see this example of the model and be absolutely terrified to try and paint it themselves. So I spent the last 2 days trying to reverse engineer a very simplistic scheme for Fulgrim so you guys can get it on the table, paint it, looking nice, you'll feel happy and satisfied and get them to play them in your games and be happy with it. So that's what I did for today's video. Hopefully you guys appreciate the amount of effort that went into getting this model to this stage. There's a lot of back and forth in this video, a lot of trial and error. And I really do hope that you guys enjoy the journey and you like the result. So let's get into it. So this is obviously the beautiful new Fulgrim miniature. And this is the exact kind of one painted up that has me so scared. If you pay attention to all the different details, there's so much blending between colors. The wings are black to blue to green to white. The tail is the same. It's pinks to purples to whites. And I genuinely started to have like decision paralysis when trying to figure out how to paint this thing up. I was sat here looking at this model, sprayed and ready to go for, I'd say, at least an hour, trying to break it apart and trying to figure out what to do. And in the end, the only thing I'd think about was to start and fight my way through the process, learning as I went. So hopefully you guys don't make some of the same mistakes that I'm going to make in this video. I started with, of course, the traditional contrast stages where I just started blocking in colors on the model. Magos Purple is the first one that I grabbed, and I am applying this all over the soft skin part of the model. So obviously there's his huge big sweeping tail, very nice, and then he has all these hardened scales at the back and these fins on the side. That's not what I'm going to apply the Magos Purple to. And even at this point, I wasn't sure where the Magos Purple was going to go. So in this step, I paint his tail and then I decide to do his wings, obviously, so that matches. But he's got 2 armored arms and then 2 unarmored arms, like bear arms. And originally I left them like not Magos Purple and I didn't do his face. And then it was only later on when I realized they would kind of be the same similar color. So I decided to go about doing that as well. So you will see his face and those lower set of arms become Magos Purple a little bit later on in the video. After this, it was time for a lilac dry brush. Now, this was once again, as I was muddling my way through the process, trying to figure it out. And the wings had so much beautiful texture on them that giving them a light dry brush with that lilac color really did make all those details pop, stand out, and look really nice. So it's kind of crazy what a simple contrast and a dry brush can do for wings, which can terrify people. A huge set of wings like this, you're like, how the hell am I going to do this? But you can do it very, very quickly. From here, we go to Luxion Purple, which is a much darker purple color, and we're trying to hit the more armored parts of the model. That is the hardened scales that run up his back. Now, at the time, I decided I was going to do the fins the same color as well. Now, at the end of this video, the fins don't stay purple, but I do apply another contrast to them later on. And if you didn't put the purple on now, the end result that I did would be a lot lighter. So it's up to you whether you want to skip doing the fins now and do them the kind of greeny turquoisey color I do them later on, or whether you want to do the purple now and then do the turquoise so it matches into my one exactly. That's up to you. By the time you see the final result at the end of the video, hopefully you have a better idea of what you want to do. Black Templar was then done for, once again, all the soft seals. So his entire like midriff from like where the snake tail ends and before his armor starts, all of that goes black. And then he has some kind of separation points between his armor. I call them the soft seal parts. They always describe them like that in the books. I got them black as well. His horns went black. The spikes on the ends of all the wingtips go black as well. It's a very quick step, but it's important. Underneath his head as well, in between the armor like torso and the bottom of his chin, all that is like an armored turtleneck, if you will. So that's black as well. Volibus pink was then used for some of the more kind of exposed skin. So his like snake front bit is kind of sliced and the skin is peeled back and pinned back onto his body. So I wanted a more raw, sore looking skin. So I decided to go for Volibus pink, and we're going to work that up later on. We're also going to do the cloth that's running down off the back of him in these same colors as well. Now, why do I do the same colors? Because that pink color that I'm going to be working my way through, you'll see later on, it's actually the color of my Emperor's Children. So you can change that fabric color at the back to match in with whatever color you're doing your Emperor's Children, just for that little nod, that little tie-in with the rest of the army. It's up to you whether you want to do that, whether you want to copy me, or what you want to do there. Now, definitely the most tedious part of painting this model, it's crazy, is blocking in the amount of gold. This took, honestly, I'd say well over an hour to block in all of the gold without hitting any of the skin or any of the other contrast bits we went along. If you are enjoying this video and you think you're going to get something out of it, please do think about giving the video a like. Ask me any questions you want in the comments below, including let me know what other Emperor's Children models you want to see painted up. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel. These 3 things cost you nothing, but make a huge difference to how many people see the videos and how quickly the channel grows. The next thing we're going to do is throw a Druchii Violet shade over the entire miniature, except the wings. I really like how the wings are looking right now, so I'm going to leave them alone for now. I do end up hitting them with a lighter dry brush later on just to make them pop that tiny bit more, but I don't want to throw a shade on them. So yeah, but everywhere else is going to get a shade. Another thing that you can do to help support the channel is if you are planning on picking up any of these Emperor Children models yourself, you know they are quite expensive. And if you want to save yourself a little bit of money and you live in either the UK or in kind of the rest of Europe, not that UK is part of Europe, we have some affiliate links for you guys. So my hobby place is the European link, so you can go and check that link down below. You can purchase things from them using that link. You save yourself about 20%, and on something like a Primarch, that could be 20 or 30 bucks, which is quite nice. And the channel itself gets a little kickback as well. Costs you nothing else, it just saves you money. If you are in, of course, England, we have the Element Game links down below as well. Click on that link, take you to their website, purchase the Emperor's Children stuff for yourself, save yourself a bunch of cash, and then, of course, a kickback goes to us. So that's just if you guys are planning on purchasing any of these models or any of the Two Thin Coats paints I'll be using for pretty much the rest of this video, those are the links for you. Okay, as you can see, I am now leaning quite heavily on the Two Thin Coats range of paints to help me through the rest of this miniature. Now, why am I doing that? That can be kind of frustrating for people who only collect Games Workshop models and only have Games Workshop paints. Well, fear not with that. There is a conversion chart, so you can, of course, use nothing but Games Workshop paints. Just check out the conversion chart and basically swap out those paints for Games Workshop ones. I don't really get on well with the pinks and purple ranges from Games Workshop. I always struggled with them a little bit. And I always find the coverage that I get with the Two Thin Coats for those colors is just better. So I'm going to lean into them a little bit more. I'm getting more and more comfortable with the Two Thin Coats range, and I like using it for things that are quite important. And Fulgrim for me is quite important. So I don't mind spending that extra little bit of time and going through the different stages of layering him up. Obviously, he is going to be a huge centerpiece to your Emperor's Children army, so I do think he deserves that extra bit of time. Hence why I'm going through the kind of tedious layering stage now. You've seen I've already hit it with that mid-tone purple. We're now going to, of course, jump up to the runic purple and do exactly the same thing as I did previously, that kind of scratchy highlight, adding texture, but I'm going to be taking my time and adding less. I want to leave some of that previous mid-tone behind. And you can see those scratchy lines starting to develop in the skin. This will look fantastic across the entire snake tail. I know you think that's going to take so long. It doesn't actually take as long as you might think. And the more you do it, the quicker you get. It's definitely worth your time layering, like learning the skill of using the kind of triad system properly. Even though I substituted out the base paint for the triad for a contrast. But you can see the texture that's starting to appear on the model, making it look like I put absolutely loads of effort in, when really I didn't. I was still very much unhappy with the amount of like that dark purple in the bottom half of the model here. It just wasn't sitting right. And if you do go back to the beginning and look at the example picture of Fulgrim, you will notice all those kind of turquoisey blue tones that exist throughout the model. So I thought about using the contrast very quickly over those fins. I think would have made a huge difference and help fix that problem. So that's what I did. You can see the skin is really starting to pop and really starting to look nice. And here's where I'm trying to differentiate those colors. So the first thing I did was I got a palette witch flesh and I gave it a dry brush over those hardened scales. That's just going to grab the sharp details on those pieces and make them pop. You don't have to do any more than that. It's a very simple thing. And of course, we're going to dry brush up those fins as well. It's going to catch all those raised details, all those sharp edges. So that means when I apply that extra contrast later on, it's going to make those details pop. I also used the palette witch test, like I talked about earlier, to add one last extra highlight to the wings. And as you can see, it is making those things jump off his back and look pretty awesome. We do a quick dry brush across his hair as well, although we're going to do another one of them a little bit later on to make them pop. The kind of texture that exists in this model means that this is just designed for contrast and dry brushing. Pterodon Turquoise is my contrast of choice for swapping out all of those purple fins for something that's just a little bit more esoteric and a little bit more awesome. So hopefully you do like the decision I made to swap colors here. And this is what I was talking about earlier. Because you have a dark purple base coat, the Pterodon Turquoise contrast is going on quite dark, which is working because I don't want to draw your attention away from the kind of middle of the model. I don't want your eyes to be kind of diverted down. So I like it being this dark. If you didn't bother blocking in the fins earlier, then they would just be the base coat, which was a grey sear spray, and they would be popping a lot more. So it's up to you whether you want to know that or whether you want to bother, but I think it makes a big difference, and I really like how that looks. Okay, we are now focusing on those details in the center, that peel back skin. So Pershing Pink is the first one we are going to grab. And as you can see, I'm going in and carefully layering up that. This is, once again, another focal point of the model. When you look down on him, you're of course going to notice his wings and his face and his armor. But this is such a large, intricate design, like flayed skin, peeled back center of the model, that I think a lot of people's eyes are going to be kind of focused there, especially because that big gold circle in the middle there is actually a big gemstone, which I will be painting a little bit later on, which will of course draw the attention there a little bit more. So taking your time and highlighting it properly will make all the difference. You'll notice that I am not touching the fabric on the back of the model now, but it's changing color step by step because exactly the same colors that I'm using for the flayed skin here is the colors that I'm using on those materials. Same color I'm doing for my actual Emperor's Children models. So if you want to check that, I've done a video on 3 different Emperor's Children schemes. The pink one is the one I'm going for, and these are the colors that I used. As you can see, I'm putting in quite a lot of work into this video, and I like putting in work for you guys, helping you get your models on the table, alleviating those fears and things that are stopping you from buying these awesome models. If you want to help support the channel in another way, we of course do have things like our Patreon and channel membership. They are once again linked down below. With those 2 things, you get access to a private Discord server. You can hang out with me on a daily basis, talk about your hobby. You can take part in all the different events we have going on over there, such as painting competitions and monthly showcases. And of course, you also get an extra video every single week for being a member of either of those 2 things. So that's pretty good reasons for being involved. All right, that's the last thing that I have to sell you guys whilst I'm online. So I do apologize for that, but it's necessary to keep the lights on and the cameras rolling. So okay, you can see now that I'm going in with the brighter gold and I'm starting to highlight that up. The Liberator gold is going on. I'm leaving that Druchii Violet shaded base coat gold in all the recesses and everything like that. And I'm going to use this to make it pop, stand out and look polished. This is of course Slaanesh. This is an Emperor's Children. It's perfection. So having some bright gold really does help him pop and stand out. He is entirely gold, the armor. Now there is lots of flat panels on the armor, which I think I could have gotten away with doing the pink to match in with my Emperor's Children. Well, the other half of the channel said it was a bad idea, so I went with her. Hopefully it's the right idea, but there is the option in there for doing the not trim parts of the armor to match your Emperor's Children scheme, but that's of course once again up to you. Ironbreaker was then brought in for highlighting all the silver parts of the model, which really is just the blades of 2 swords and the chain off of the whip. That's pretty much the only silver that exists on him. So take your time and give them a nice highlight job. You will notice the kind of pinchy claw on the end of his tail becomes blue at one page because I did decide to add that into the fin color a little bit later on. So hopefully you like that. Okay, now it's time to start doing the gemstones, where we've grabbed Abaddon Black, and the first thing we do is do 2 thin coats on all the gemstones that you want to paint as gemstones. You can leave some of them in the gold armor if you want to paint 1,000,000 of them. That's totally up to you. I didn't do them on the crossguard, the sword and stuff, which I was probably supposed to do. So I left out a few too. It's up to you. But yeah, just quickly block in all of those colors, all those gemstones with that. And then we're going to go for this. It's the Sentinel Turquoise, the Cursed Blue, and the Ray Gun Glow. Those are the 3 2 thin coats range paints that I'm using to create the effect. So if you don't know how I do gemstones, it's very simple. You start with the shape of the gemstone, and then you basically do a crescent moon starting from the top right, sweeping down to kind of the middle, leaving the top left black. And then you basically then jump up to the next color and do a smaller kind of half moon design inside the blue. And then the final color, once again, a smaller half moon color inside that previous one. A dot of white in the top left corner to signal the kind of light reflection. And then you just add a bit of gloss varnish over the top of it. For me, I'm using Ard Coat. And with that, you get this really nice, crisp looking gemstone. You can do that with any triad. If you want the gems to be red, do a red triad, orange, purple, whatever you want to do. It's a very simple technique, but it makes all the difference. I did decide to do Nihilic Oxide on the gold armor, add a little bit more oxidization, just adding a little bit more of a kind of splash of color to it. I thought the gold was a bit too much in the center. And I think with the blue existing on the fins and existing in the gemstones, I could add it to the gold. Now, I know it doesn't make a lot of sense. A demon's armor is not going to oxidize, I don't think. Once again, to use that word like an esoteric thing, he's not really that corporeal, or maybe he is, I don't know. But I definitely think it was a nice choice. I liked the fact that I did it. You can leave that step out if you don't want to. Absolutely no problem at all. But I liked the spreading of the color around. I had Witch Flesh back in again just to layer up all of those feathers on his beautiful big wing motif going up over his shoulder. I didn't want to go for pure white. I like the Pallid Witch Flesh. It gives the illusion of it being painted a crisp white, but it actually looks crisp because he didn't use a white paint, and it looks really, really nice. We also had a little bit of white left on our palette, so we grabbed a dry brush and we dry brushed the hair with a little bit of white paint over just to once again make it pop a little bit more. After that, we grabbed some AK Interactive Snow texture paste and applied it to the base. You can do your basing, of course, whatever way you like, but with the pink design that I did for Emperor's Children, the white really helps contrast that. It looks really good on the model, so I'm of course going to carry it through to Fulgrim. It's not the easiest paste to, I think it's a little bit dry. I should probably get a new pot. But I applied it all over the base, and I think that really set off that cold pink and gold scheme. I was really happy with the final result I did get. It is drastically different to the Games Workshop version. I really do need to know what you guys think of the one that I did. Do you like this version? Do you think it's close enough to the mark the Games Workshop did that it passes for Fulgrim? And do you think this is more achievable than the version that they did? If you could help me out by answering those questions in the comments below, it would mean a lot to me. Here's a couple of still images of what it looks like on the tabletop. And yeah, thank you guys so much for sticking around to this slightly more lengthy video. And I will see you with more Emperor's Children videos very soon. Lucius, of course, has to be done.